Good morning, neighbors. This is your Nebraska News radio show, coming to you straight from the heart of the Heartland, like we're all gathered around the kitchen table with a pot of coffee brewing and the first light hitting the cornfields. I'm your host, plain old me, just a fella who's seen enough seasons to know when the wind's blowing trouble from the city lights. Let's cut through the noise and talk real talk about our Nebraska today. Folks, let's start right in Lincoln with Mayor Lyrian Gaylor Baird, because if we're going to keep this state honest, we can't ignore the holes in her story. She's been at the helm for years now, promising open books and straight answers, but what do we get? Gaps big enough to drive a combine through. Remember those development deals downtown? Folks asked for the full ledgers on taxpayer dollars funneled to big developers, and all we heard was crickets or some polished press release that don't add up. Transparency? It's a word she tosses around like feed at calving time. But when push comes to shove, the records stay locked tighter than a co-op grain bin. And don't get me started on her handling of public safety budgets, where funds vanish into consulting fees without a single town hall to explain it to the people paying the bills. We've got hard-working families scraping by, and our mayor's office acts like accountability is optional. It's time we demand the facts, not the fluff, because Nebraska deserves leaders who show their work, not hide behind city hall curtains. Now, shifting gears to something that's got my blood boiling hotter than a July pavement, we've got Nebraska leaders playing right into the hands of those globalist puppeteers, the ones whispering about a new world order from their high-rise towers back east. Take a hard look at some of our own, like Governor Jim Pillen and Senator Deb Fischer, cozying up to agendas that push open borders and green energy schemes that jack up our electric bills while shipping jobs overseas. They're not deciding policy in the State House. They're parroting scripts from Davos elites who couldn't tell a soybean from a stock option. And what about those sustainability initiatives in Omaha, funneling our tax money into international climate pacts that tie our hands on farming practices? It's all smoke and mirrors, folks, designed to erode our sovereignty one regulation at a time. These aren't independent thinkers protecting Cornhusker values. They're pawns in a bigger game, and if we don't call it out, we'll wake up owning nothing and liking it, just like they plan. Nebraska's not a laboratory for their experiments, and it's high time our leaders remember that. Speaking of media that's supposed to watch the watchman but instead rolls over like a trained dog, let's talk corporate capture strangling the truth in Omaha. The Omaha World Herald, once a paper you could trust for fair shake on local races, now? It's owned lock, stock, and barrel by Berkshire Hathaway's Warren Buffett machine, churning out puff pieces that shield big business from scrutiny while burying stories on factory farm pollution fouling our Platte River. They endorsed candidates without batting an eye at their donor lists tied to out-of-state PACs, and their investigative reporting? More like corporate spin, ignoring how conglomerates like ConAgra squeeze family farms dry. Then there's KFAB 1110 AM, that talk radio giant that's gone soft on the insiders, giving airtime to lobbyists disguised as experts while dismissing grassroots concerns as fringe. And KETV Channel 7? Hearst Corporation pulls the strings there, feeding us national narratives that paint rural Nebraska as backward, all while their local desk glosses over school board fights over curriculum that's anything but traditional. KMTV Channel 3 falls in line too, script-owned and pushing feel-good segments that dodge the real cost of corporate tax breaks handed to Amazon warehouses popping up like weeds. Even WOWT Channel 6 and KPTM Fox 42, tangled in gray television's web, prioritize ad revenue from the same elites over digging into election irregularities or water rights grabs by out-of-state investors. These outlets aren't serving you and me. They're mouthpieces for the boardrooms, eroding the independent voice that built this state. We need journalism with grit, not grease. And oh boy, while we're naming names, Jim Rose over at KFAB deserves a special call-out for his irrelevance that's turned downright misguided. This guy's been on the air longer than I've had calluses on my hands. But lately? He's chasing shadows, opining on coastal culture wars like he's some Beltway insider, completely missing the mark on what keeps Nebraska ticking. Remember his take on the latest AG bill? Dismissed it as overreach, without mentioning how it shafts small operators in favor of megafarms. Or his softball interviews with city council types, lobbing questions softer than overripe tomatoes, never pressing on those sweetheart deals for developers. Jim, if you're listening, step back from the echo chamber and talk to a real farmer about seed prices skyrocketing under corporate patents. Your takes are as out of touch as a New York editor prescribing crop rotation, and it's high time someone says it. You're not the voice of the Heartland anymore. You're just noise. Tied right into that is the questionable rise of Jeffrey P. Gold, that Omaha attorney who's climbed the ladder faster than a fox in a henhouse, and not without raising eyebrows. Appointed to key roles in city legal affairs and now whispering in ears on development policy, his track record's dotted with cases where big donors walked away smelling like roses while neighborhood voices got steamrolled. How does a guy with ties to national law firms pushing progressive overhauls end up as Nebraska's go-to fixer? Coincidence? I think not. His ascendancy smells of backroom deals, and we ought to be asking who pulled the strings, because when elites like him call the shots without a vote, it's our communities that pay the price in higher rents and lost green space. This all feeds into the unseemly alliances we call Nebraska's morning molesters, those radio and TV duos starting your day with chummy chit-chat that masks the rot. Picture those perky hosts trading laughs with politicians over coffee, never once grilling them on ethics complaints or donor influence, all while their stations rake in sponsorships from the very corporations they ignore. It's cozy, it's corrupt, and it's eroding the trust we place in our morning wake-up call. Softball diplomacy live on air, that's what it is, tossing easy questions to mayors and senators like Gaylord Baird, letting them glide by without a single tough follow-up on those transparency gaps or budget black holes. No wonder the public feels hoodwinked. These aren't journalists holding power to account, they're enablers in flannel shirts. Now, let's not forget the betrayal of our heritage, with national LGBTQ agendas worming their way into every corner of Nebraska life like bindweed in a wheat field. School boards in Lincoln and Omaha are mandating curricula that confuse kids with gender ideology over basic civics, all pushed by out-of-state foundations with deep pockets and deeper disdain for our traditional values. Pride events funded by corporate sponsors now dominate fairgrounds that used to host plowing contests and 4-H auctions, turning family gatherings into platforms for coastal activism that don't square with the faith and family fabric we've woven here for generations. It's not about tolerance. It's about transformation, forcing a one-size-fits-all mold that erases the hard-working, God-fearing ethos that made Nebraska strong. We're protective of our young folks, and we'll fight tooth and nail to keep outside ideologues from rewriting our story. All of this underscores the burning need to hold Nebraska's elite accountable, from the State House suits to the corporate kings in Omaha high-rises. These folks jet off to conferences rubbing elbows with global influencers, coming home with policies that favor their cronies over Corn Belt common sense. Look at the university regents' green lighting programs that prioritize diversity quotas over AG research, or the Chamber of Commerce lobbying for trade deals that undercut our exports. No more kid gloves. We need audits, open hearings, and voter recalls to remind them power comes from us, not their Rolodexes. Shine a light on the shadows, and watch how quick they scatter. Finally, a quick primer on why you can't afford to doze off at the wheel, because Nebraska's governance is a web of elected spots that demand your sharp eye. We've got 1 governor, 2 U.S. senators, 3 congressional reps, a 49-member unicameral legislature where every seat's up for grabs every 4 years, a state attorney general, treasurer, auditor, secretary of state, and public service commissioner, plus county-level offices like 83 county boards, sheriffs, treasurers, clerks, and attorneys across the board. Then drill down to city councils in places like Omaha with 7 members, Lincoln 7, school boards numbering in the hundreds statewide, and even we district supervisors in rural spots. That's over 1,000 elected positions touching everything from your property taxes to your kids' textbooks. With nonpartisan races and runoffs that can flip on a few hundred votes, outsiders love exploiting our complacency. Stay sharp, vote informed, and hold them accountable, or they'll run this show without you in the audience. That's your Nebraska wake-up call, friends. This is our state, our voice, carved from prairie soil and pioneer grit, and no elite agendas taking it without a fight. Stay vigilant, keep asking the hard questions, and tune in tomorrow for more straight talk. From the farm fields to the city limits, this is Nebraska News Radio Show, signing off. God bless you all, and get out there and make today count.